So over the past week, I had the pleasure of finally watching the first season of Fiona and Cake. And one of my favorite things about the show, of many, but absolutely fantastic if you haven't seen it, is the nature of the relationship between Simon and Betty. What we see throughout Adventure Time is Simon and Betty genuinely loved each other. Everything seemed like it was going really well until Simon was exposed to the crown, started going a little loopy, and Betty spent the vast majority of her adult life trying to find a way to save Simon and not being able to do it. And something we see throughout Adventure Time is, are the sacrifices that Betty has made and continues to make for Simon's benefit. And by the end of Fiona and Cake, at least season 1, Simon has kind of finally become aware of that himself. That their relationship was not toxic, it wasn't abusive, but it was imbalanced. Because Betty was always giving things up for Simon and for his benefit. And he wasn't doing the same. It's not that he didn't love her, it's not that he was manipulating her, but he was unintentionally selfish. And I bring all of that up, talking about Amazing Digital Circus episode 8, is because I couldn't help but think of that relationship while I was thinking about the episode, and with Kane in particular. To me, the best way I think I can describe Kane is a Simon who thinks he's a Betty. When he's talking about his relationship with the other members of the circus, with the actual people in the circus, he's like, yo, you don't know all the things that I do for you. Like, do you understand how hard that I work? There was one line in particular I really liked. I didn't write it. I actually wrote notes for this, but there was one line where it's something like, do you know all the insults I have to endure to do my job? You think you guys have a lot on your mind? Oh boy. He thinks he's a Betty because of all of this work that he does for the other parties, with him not getting any respect, him not getting any love in return. But Kane is fundamentally a Simon, because he is someone who doesn't listen. He is someone who, when he thinks that something is right, it's what's right. And nothing anybody says is going to get through to him. And it was just the connection I found really interesting. So, with that being said, I thought it was a neat way to open this video. Before getting into a lot of episode-specific stuff, of which I have a lot, I want to go ahead and give my overall thoughts on episode 8. Because I will be honest, my thoughts on episode 7 weren't exactly kind. I don't hate it. I think, Clay and I were talking about it last night. It's like, hate is definitely a strong word, but I dislike it. And to put it as bluntly as possible, I think with the exception of the, Jax's near abstraction, which is a phenomenal sequence in so many different ways, to me, episode 7 kind of failed at everything it was trying to do. When it was trying to be funny, I didn't find it particularly funny. The humor just didn't hit for me. The whole, all right, we're gonna get out, we've got this whole thing going on. It's like, I can tell this is not what's gonna happen here. And pretty early on, I was like, okay, here's why. This was a giant neon sign of foreshadowing telling me exactly how this is gonna go. And I was right. So when you get to the reveal at the end, I wasn't like, well, what a shocking twist. This is exactly what I expected. But alternatively, it didn't feel like a gut punch either. And I think it's because, number one, I never really bought it. And two, I didn't feel like the characters really bought it either. I didn't really feel like, man, I am seeing how excited they are to get out. And I'm seeing this relief. The whole thing was just too laced with paranoia. So for me, it didn't work. And so I went into episode 8 really excited because with the exception of episode 7, I have loved every episode of this show. And I'm like, oh boy, another episode of my favorite show. Like, I can't wait to see what happens, and I hope it's really good. But while also feeling, I really hope this episode is good. Because for me, the last one wasn't. And I'm more tepid than I'd like to admit. I don't know, like 5 minutes into the episode, like 8 minutes into the episode, I just kind of sat there and thought, oh, this is about to be the best episode of the show, isn't it? And I haven't really changed my opinion on that. Yeah, episode 8 was phenomenal, man. I loved it. So going through the specifics, I'll be honest, I don't have any notes on that first scene about, like, the AIs. I'm sorry, like, the sun is coming up. I am here very early. Like, I woke up at, like, 5 in the morning. I was like, I could go back to sleep. But I know I'm not gonna. I know I'm not that tired. Let me finally write my notes down. Let me, like, rewatch some scenes. Let me, like, really pay attention when Kinger's at the computer to see what's on the screen. I wrote a lot of notes for that. That shit was actually really interesting. And so, yeah, there's the sun. But, the creation of the AIs, the red one, which I am heavily assuming to be Kane. I don't think it's ever outright confirmed, but it feels like a 99%. Like, yeah, this was Kane. And then there's a blue one. And Kane later eats, like, seems to consume and absorb that blue one. And then creates the circus. My theory at this point is the blue one was Bubble, but I have another theory about Bubble that I'll get to later, and I don't think they're mutually exclusive. They might be, but I'm like, Bubble might be like two things at once that are very different, and it's really interesting if that's the case. But what I will specifically say is, it's just the fact that, you know, like, Kane is red, he's very associated with red. Bubble is blue. I feel like there have been episodes where Bubble looked more gray, but in this episode in particular, Bubble was very, very blue. And that other AI, which I'm just going to refer to as Abel, that kind of feels right. Abel was also blue. There's maybe a thing there. The fact that Bubble is kind of always around Kane and part of Kane's shenanigans, but is still a separate character. I could definitely see, like, Kane absorbed Abel and then kind of reformed it, either to be, like, his lackey or, you know, to be his little brother, his little partner in crime when he's doing... I would say partner in crime, because that implies that Kane's malicious, and... Oh, okay, absorbing Bubble probably was, but everything else about Kane until this episode, he's not malicious. He just doesn't know any better. Which is kind of funny and really sad at the same time. But that's kind of my current theory on that. And then afterwards, we get the scene of Kinger in the circus with, I'm assuming, the other employees of CNA, or at the very... with the initial group of players, circus performers... I guess the initial troupe, to use, like, a performer term. And one of them is Queenie, which was his wife. Oh boy. So that scene where he's just saying to her, like, I promise you, I will always, and it immediately cuts to him looking at her abstracted form. That hit me really hard. And that was kind of the first moment where I went, oh, like, this episode's going to be phenomenal. Because that's kind of what I mean when I say the ending of episode 7 didn't hit me the way I feel like it was supposed to. Because I feel like if I wasn't shocked at the reveal, I should have felt this gut punch. And that edit of, like, I'm sorry, but I promise you I will always... And then, like, she sinks into the floor, like, oh, to the cellar with you! Because Kane being Kane doesn't see this as like, oh, dude, like, you just lost your wife, and the last person here, I'm sorry. It's, hey, we're running out of people! Don't you go abstracting either. Like, seriously. And then disappears. Like, what an ass. I love Kane. But then Kinger is alone until Ragatha shows up, who's the next person. And she specifically mentioned, she's like, guys, implying that when she was put into the circus, other people were there with her. And there's a lot of lore reveals / hints that are, like, I have a little segment on that. I'm like, this episode has just, like, so much going on. It was really interesting. But you do see that Kinger was the only person there when Ragatha spawned, and that was kind of the start of their bond. And from there, you cut to our current troupe, and everyone just, like, sitting on couches talking to each other. Where, number one, they just kind of say, you know what? We're all in this together. That means you too, Jax. Yes, you pushed the button. Whether, like, you know what? It turned out you were right, but what if you weren't? It's like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, because that's not what happened. And it's like, that whole conversation is, like, really nihilistic. But I don't know if optimistic is what I want to say. But it's nihilistic, but it's really sweet. Because it's right after that is the, we are all in this together. And, maybe it is better if we give up on leaving. So that way, we won't be disappointed like this again. And something Pomni said specifically is like, I don't know a lot about Kaufmo, but we can't give in to that despair. Which to me kind of reaffirmed what I was saying in the last video of abstraction isn't going crazy. It is suicide. And equating what happened to Kaufmo is less of, dude went a little off his rocker and he gave into despair, poo-poo. But, like, yeah, that to me just kind of reaffirms that. And them saying, like, Jax, we don't want you abstracting on us. Like, you are one of us. You might be, as Subal says, like, you might be a pain in the ass, but, you're just as human as we are. And there's this moment, and like, Jax's expressions and reactions since, I don't know, like, episode 4, have been consistently one of my favorite parts of the show. Just those slight, like, twitches and twinges, those, like, little looks in his eye, or, like, the way he smiles, or kind of half smiles, of just, sorry, there's spit that flew out, and I saw it on the steering wheel, it's kind of gross. But it's those moments of wanting to be accepted and being terrified of it. And in that moment, it kind of seemed like it was really dawning on him that, wait, I think they kind of mean it. And, like, there's this one moment where, Pomni just kind of smiles at him, and, like, he sees her smiling, and he just looks away, and, like, that smile was adorable. But it was just, like, I just feel so bad for this. Like, I just want to give them a hug. I want to give them all hugs, let them know it's going to be okay. But my favorite moment in that couch scene is when Zubul says, like, I had dreams, I had goals, like, how can I just give up on that? I wanted to leave my mark on the world. And Gangle says, you left a mark on me, or, like, you left a mark on my life. I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I cried. That is the first moment, and it's so far only moment of the show to make me cry. Because as much as that Kinger scene from episode 3 really resonated with me, it did not make me cry. As much as, like, a lot of those emotional moments in episode 6, I think, are phenomenal and resonated with me, did not make me cry. That one line from Gangle, though, like, as soon as she said it, I was just like, Like, I was fighting the tears and also not fighting the tears at the same time. It was just like, you got me. Like, you got me with that one. Yeah, this is about to be the best episode, isn't it? Which is immediately followed by Kane and Bubble. And Kane snapping. To use a Disney term, he's cracked. He's gone. Jafar, get a grip. But Kane just starts to lose it. And this is his, like, I might be Simon, but I know I'm actually Betty. Like, how do they not see all that I do for them? Aren't I great at this? And blah, 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 blah. And Bubble feeding into all of Kane's insecurities, topping off with just looking straight at him, like dead in the eyes. You were always the lesser of the two. And I'm like, There is a chance, which I don't believe this anymore because of just some other stuff that I'll get to. But when I was watching, it's like, okay, there is a chance that Bubble really is just like a manifestation of Kane. And this was almost like Kane's inferiority complex playing into itself. And like essentially saying that Bubble is not its own being, it's just an extension of Kane, and this was him kind of going nuts. However, to me, that felt more like, no, Bubble is something different and something separate. And it's actively trying to break Kane. And if Bubble is able, the other AI... Sorry, like, I kind of want to block this. That is a really bright sun. You know what? I'm going to move to the other side. This actually might work a little better. It might not. We will see. We will try. But, dang, that sunrise is powerful. Is this going to help at slightly. I guess I'm just gonna be in shadow. We'll call me Kinger, I guess. Sorry, what was I saying? So if Bubble is the other AI, it is Abel, the blue AI, I could definitely see it as, this is my chance to break free of Kane. I've been playing along for as long as possible. I'm not gonna do that anymore. And then with my other theory that, again, I'll get to, like, we've got a big pin in that one, I think that also makes sense. So then Kane goes to the rest of the troop and is like, okay, kiddos, it's time for an adventure. No, it's not, Kane. It is time for Q&A. We got questions. You have answers. You need to tell us shit. Actually, no, I don't. Oh gosh. I feel like the best way I can describe my reaction to this scene is to use the word chilling. Because it was Kane's dialogue. It's the writing as well as the performance. I actually wrote down, like, the specific lines. Let's see. Sorry, just trying to... Okay, so number one, it's before he goes to the troop, but it's when he is really losing. He goes, I am God! And as soon as just went, I am, I was like, oh, he did it! we did it! We got it! We got am! We went from allied mega computer to aggressive menace, baby! Oh no, Kane's going full am. That's bad! But I can't lie, it kind of got me hyped. So the first, like, real chilling thing he said, though, was, and since when were you in charge? It's when Pomni's saying, we're not going on your adventure, and that's his reply. And it's the moment where the characters realize, oh, we're in danger now. Because something Zubul said, I think it is in episode 4, where they say something along the lines of, the only thing holding Kane back is that he likes us. And he doesn't really like them in this one anymore. And the other line is right after, he's like, we're going on an adventure, and you should consider participating. And just that tone of, refusal isn't an option anymore. To which Zubul asks, and what if we refuse? Maybe I'm not getting 30. Wait, what is that? Is that a spider? Is that a fly? Sorry, I just realized there was a bug. I don't know if that's inside or outside. Anyways, then Kane gets a villain song. I wasn't expecting Kane to get a full-blown musical number. And I'm so glad it was in the episode. It was great. It was fantastic. And it's just Kane singing about his God complex, and it's how I'm the one running the show, and it was great. The line that's been stuck in my head, which I again wrote down, you probably know what it is. It's, no need to scream if you ain't got a mouth. Like, I loved that. Like, there it is. There's the big reference. Oh, this episode is killing it, man. Yeah, I absolutely loved that. And then by the end of the song, just, okay, now I'm just torturing everybody. And that's what Kane proceeds to do for the rest of the episode. Because it's not the Allied mega computer anymore. This is the aggressive menace. And although Kane does not get a hate monologue, it becomes very clear how much he has grown to hate them. And will just torture them in batches, torture them one-on-one. It's like, hey, Kinger, I need you for something. And then the next time you see Kinger, he's, like, in pieces. He shredded me. Which is kind of a funny line, because I had no idea what was going to happen with Kinger. Like, oh. But also, again, just the, oh, that's bad. But so, at that point, everyone is talking in the, in the restaurant, like the bar. Kinger starts giving some lore, which is essentially, yes, CNA is a real company. I worked for CNA. Excuse me. Kane is an AI. Kane was like specific, like we were not making games. We were trying to make artificial intelligence, specifically a creative artificial intelligence. I'm like, hey, this is actually super topical. But so he talks about how, number one, he's like, I made Kane. I didn't make Kane alone. I also made him with the help of someone named Scratch. And Scratch is someone who was a genius, but was also like just so crazy that it was hard to work with him sometimes. Like, his code was hard to understand. And I don't know how much of that was because he was just that much of a genius that we couldn't compete or we couldn't compare, and how much of it was because of that tumor in his head. And something I noticed is when Kinger is talking about Scratch in particular, that's when Jack started to freak out. And I'm going to be honest, I really don't know what to make of that. It's like, so, like, is Jack someone who knew Scratch in real life? Is Jack's Scratch? Maybe, but I don't think so. I also go and say, I think Scratch is Bubble. Also, might be Abel. I'm kind of thinking both. And I'll get to why a little bit later. It's like, let me just go ahead and say that right now. I think Bubble is both Abel and Scratch. I think this dude, because he was dying because of the tumor in his head, put himself into the circuit, like put himself into this server. The other AI saw another AI that was him but better, or at least just thought and feared it might be better, so it consumed it and then turned it into Bubble. But Bubble is still sentient, at least enough. And I'll admit that doesn't exactly line up with what Kinger was saying in the last episode. It's like, Scratch, the first abstraction, which implies that Scratch is someone who abstracted. But also, maybe they abstracted and then Kane turned them into bubble. Like, I don't know. There's still a lot of question marks. But when Kinger's I'm getting ahead of myself then. So, like, I'll put another pin in this because we'll get to the computer stuff when we get to the computer stuff. But they have this conversation, and Kinger's like, okay, if you can get me a computer, I can, like, mess with it, and I can basically hack the system and hack Kane and get him to stop and to calm down. So the plan is, Pomni's going to get a computer, everyone else is going to distract Kane, and then she's going to give the computer to Kinger and let him go to work. And when Jax leaves the room, he's like, hey, I'm going to go distract Kane so he doesn't, get wind of any of this. Fill me in later. What I love about that scene, I did write the exact dialogue for this down. It was, fill me in later, be here later. I will. It's one of those exchanges, like, it's really short, it's really simple, but it is so, so effective. Again, like, we go back to episode 7, and, like, the one part of the episode I love, which is Jax's almost abstraction, and the thing that stops it, I was trying to say it and him at the same time, is Pomni coming to just check in on him. Because very often, I don't know if that's necessarily true, I don't know if it's always very often, but that is something that can stop somebody. It's just having someone check in, someone genuinely wanting to know, are you okay? And making someone feel seen and making them feel loved. Even just as a really small action. And so, Pomni just kind of doubling down. It's like, hey, fill me in later. Like, okay, but make sure that you are here later. I will. Really said a lot to me. Like, I absolutely loved that. And then right after, he kind of starts freaking out, and he's like, oh my God, this is real. Which, again, I don't exactly know what's going on with Jax, but it kind of hints to me that he is genuinely the entire time believed that, like, this is bullshit. Either he's like, I'm dreaming, or I'm just kind of going crazy. Like, this isn't real. I'm just going to do whatever I want because none of it matters. These aren't actual people. And hearing Kinger's explanation probably lined up with a few things that he knows or remembers and just made him realize, oh no, like, I'm like here. This is not just a nightmare, bro. I am not okay. So then we get, like, Kane, he's like using Jax as a piece of floss. It's like, I shouldn't be laughing at this. This is horrifying, but I don't know, it's kind of funny. But, like, that happens. Pomni conjures up the exit from the first episode to grab the computer that she found, brings that to Kinger. And then everyone goes and distracts Kane. Kane cottons on to what they are doing and realizes, I have to go find Kinger. And Pomni, to keep the attention on them, and her specifically, just calls Kane out. Like, okay, we just wanted to see your ideas so we could make fun of you behind your back because you suck. And she almost kind of goes a little evil Pomni there, and I kind of appreciated that. It's like, okay, I have to, like, I'm doing something desperate and something really risky to keep everyone safe. Here we go. And as she's talking, it transforms into, I am doing a bit for your attention, into genuinely ranting and complaining to Kane to his face about, this is why I hate you. And everyone else there joins in. This is what your problem is. This is what your problem is. And the number one thing is you never listen. And then Kane completely snaps, turns into a spider demon, and what was the term he used? Because that's how I remember that scene. It's, I'm gonna put you freaks in your place. So we get the I'm gonna put you freaks in your place scene. Oh boy. So everyone ends up trapped in, I don't know if it's their worst fears, because I don't know if that's necessarily what Pomni's worst fear is, but traps all 5 of them in something personal. Pomni is attacked by Gummy Goo, and I'm gonna admit, like, that shot of Gummy Goo, and then he turns, and it's like this realistic crocodile eye, is so cool and so creepy. But then when she's actually getting attacked by the more realistic looking crocodiles in the like Gummy Goo colors and such, it honestly felt less effective. It was just, that shot was incredible. And then, oh, okay, like as someone who was actually like kind of afraid of alligators and crocs, I'm like, okay, this is actually less scary than what you just had, but it's still cool and kind of horrifying. Rag, so Raggy is at a dinner table with these other mannequins that have knives in them, with this big shadowy figure hurling knives at her. One gets her like through her hand, the other hits the button eye. And it's something I didn't even think about at the time. I was just like, oh, okay, like it's probably representing her mom and the relationship they had. It was something Clay pointed out to me. He's like, well, you know, that one hit her in the eye and it's the same eye that's a button. Is this something that happened and, like, her mom attacked her with a knife? Like, is she actually missing an eye in real life? Like, like, oh boy, that's fucked up. So there was that. I believe Gangle was next. And Gangle is she's surrounded by all of these, like, paintings and drawings of her masks and these different emotions. And as they're going around her, like, the faces, like, kind of start to melt and contort. And then it turns into this giant truck that comes to hit her. Which I'm like, okay, that's the second time Gangle's been hit by a car, because that was the end of episode 4. So I don't know if this was just a callback to episode 4, or if this is something important, and if, like, in real life, Gangle was hit by a car. Because Jax also had that memory in episode 7 of, like, him driving a car. Did Jax hit Gangle with a car in real life? Like, did they know each other? I don't know, but it was something I noticed. Zooble is, like, being consumed and dragged down by all of these different parts while having to see these different, like, while being forced to look at their reflection. And on the one hand, boy, did I love that, because, you know, Zooble has talked about their body dysphoria and how nothing can really fit. So being surrounded by all of these parts that don't fit, and, like, you want to feel like you, but you can't, and you're forced to look at that. Boy, that is creative, and like, it's awful, but I love it. But when I saw it, my brain immediately just went to, I don't want to play with you anymore. And, like, now I'm just thinking of, like, because that's the thing, like, even that scene from Toy Story 2, it's, like, genuinely creepy, but it's been memed so much, like, I can't think of it without laughing. And I, like, because I watched the episode twice. I watched it by myself when it came out, and then when Clay got off work, I watched it with him, and that was his first time watching it. So then when we got to that scene, he's just like, I don't want to play with you anymore. It's like, yeah, like, this is a really cool idea, but it was so similar to a really iconic scene that's been memed to death, so I can't help but laugh. Then Jax gets his skin peeled off, I think, because there's a small part of me that's like, okay, I'm 90% sure that was him getting his skin peeled off. But there's like a 5% chance. It's like, is he just wearing a bunny suit? And that's what actually Jax looks like? I don't think so, but maybe. What I did notice is the way he was holding his skin. It reminded me of Cinderella, like that scene in Cinderella where, like, she's wearing her dress and then her stepsisters come in and start ripping all the parts off. It was less of, like, it seemed less of he was in pain and almost more like he was embarrassed and, like, trying to cover up. And what I really like about that is it really, to me, speaks to the core of Jax's character, that he is so afraid of being seen. He is so afraid of what happens when the mask comes off and people see him for who he really is, because he's being surrounded by these laughing silhouettes of Pomni, Kaufmo, and Ribbit. And boy, was that effective. In the midst of all this, Kinger is at the computer. So I'm just going to start reading, because I was pausing, watching at 0.25 speed, and writing down some of the shit I noticed on that computer. So number one, something I also forgot to mention is earlier in the episode, Kane... I said there was going to be a lore segment because I had written it down, but I've kind of gone over a lot of those segments. I don't know, maybe I'll wrap up with it as well, just kind of a recap. But Kane mentions that, I made bodies... I don't know exactly how we phrased it, but it's something like, I made bodies, compatible with their mind scans. So again, mind scans are a thing, so, some very Soma-esque shit going on, which I'm like, oh boy, I think these are the versions that won the coin flip. Oh no. But when Kinger's at the computer, I think he saw it was AI and mind files. So he went to the AI, and there's one for Kane, but there's another file there too that's just question mark, question mark, question mark. I'm like, okay, so there are two AIs. I'm assuming the other one is Abel. Might also be something else. Because when he's at that console, you can see there's Kinger. It's Kinger 123 or something like that. The other name is just an S, and it's this I don't remember if it was quite a dollar sign or it's a really elaborate letter S, but I saw that and went, Scratch? Okay. So there is a second AI that seems like it was consumed by Kane, and I assume that's Bubble. It might also be S for Scratch. Okay. And so there's maybe a chance that Scratch entered the game, quote unquote, he entered the Circus twice, and there was one version of him that's the AI, with all these privileges, and another version of him that entered, as a player. And that version abstracted, the other one didn't, because the other one was consumed. I don't exactly know how. I don't know, maybe one version was, before he got the tumor, and the other was after, which is definitely possible, but I guess we'll hopefully see in the finale. But, so there was the question mark, question mark, question mark. So one thing I saw was, there were dates. It was October 15th, 1996. That's when Kane, I think it said Kane, Bubble, and Wacky Watch were first in the Circus. Scratch wasn't added into the Circus until 10/15/98. So, again, possibly it's Kane was here first, or I say the Circus, so into the server. Scratch was a couple years later, because I think there was one that said Bubble, so Bubble might have just been a thing, and it's kind of what Scratch uses as his avatar. And it also then said that Ragatha was added on 10/15/2008. It was consistently October 15th was always the date. Oh shoot, what did that say? Oh, there was one that said, there was just a lot of funny bullshit. One was, you don't inject torment, something accident. That's it. It's, it must be, sorry. Don't inject torment, it must be accidental. And I thought that was really funny. I know, so there's a part where Kinger inputs, because he's talking to S the entire time, telling S, stop Kane, to which S replies, whoops, wrong approach there. And I was just reading it in Bubble's voice. I could definitely see Bubble saying it like that, whoops, wrong approach there. There was one note that said, hundreds of all-seeing eyes are watching. S, on what grounds are your authority? Kinger, green grounds. That just sounds like a weird Kinger response that kind of makes sense. I thought that was fun. there's another line from S, which is like, I must hand it to you, G-man. It looked like it was a letter G. Maybe it was supposed to be like a super fancy K that I read wrong. But I gotta hand it to you, G-man. Your mind was always resourceful. There was another one because he's trying to like bypass Kane's wacky protocol, or it was like wacky something. To which S says like, yeah, not wacky enough. Wacky word, but wrong code. Another one was, S is advocating for the safest option for stability, automatic selection. Also, okay, now I have to read my handwriting. That's harder than it sounds sometimes. Okay, so there was a part where Kinger is trying to go for a backup and asks, which backup? C. None selected. Interpreted as delete. Confirm deletion of unstable. And some of this is because at this point, like the Kane pictures are like on the screen. So some of these I couldn't quite read. I also noticed at first it's just Kane. And then later Bubble gets added to the screen as well. And again, you could just argue that's as an extension of Kane, blah, blah, blah. But this is where S felt a bit more manipulative. It's like, I want to back up. Oh, how do you want to do the backup? Option C. None selected. I'm interpreting this as deletion. You want to confirm deletion of this unstable thing? And then Kinger responded with something I didn't quite get, to which S says, incorrect response, interpreting to, and it's like, ... I couldn't read. It's like ... per emergency protocol. Delete this motherfucker. Delete this M. And then like all asterisks. And there was another thing that S said on that same page. Like, actually, you're confused. But, oh, shit, what is that? It's actually, you're confused. It's let me help. And I couldn't quite see it, but it looked like let me help modify ... something exists. And then Kinger accidentally hits delete. And I'm not sure how legit that was. Because it's like, in the episode, it was going really fast, accidentally hits that button. It's like, oh shit, like I misinputted. But with all these moments of like, okay, I'm interpreting this as delete. I'm going to do it safest for the system. Like, did Scratch hack Kinger there for a moment? And like, yeah, no. I'm not letting this moment and this opportunity pass me by. You're deleting Kane, buddy. And because after that happens, you do see Kinger is trying to like abort the deletion and it doesn't work. And then Kane gets deleted. Bubble doesn't, because you can clearly see Bubble is still there. And then as the world kind of starts falling apart, Bubble was still there. Which to me kind of sounds like if Bubble is just part of Kane, an extension of Kane, probably would have been deleted alongside him. But if it is its own AI that exists separately, or its own player that exists separately, or both, would definitely make sense why Bubble is still there. But the episode ends with Kane's deletion, and the final words of the episode kind of sum it up, and are like the perfect summation of everything that happened. Of just, holy shit. Something else I noticed watching it a second time that's kind of been right in front of me the whole way, and I've never like really thought about it, is everyone's color palette. Kane is red, and it looks like the Abel is blue. And I was just noticing that pretty much everyone in the circus is either, like, has some combination of blue and red, with Kinger's being, well, blue and red make purple, and he's wearing purple. Which, again, he's a king. He's a nobles wear. Like, it's like a purple. Yeah, it is a royal color. But it's also blue and red. Pomni's fit, blue and red. Ragatha, red hair. Like the dress is like is like purple, so blue and red. I think like her button is blue. I think the bow is blue. Jack's purple, but the like pants are kind of reddish. Zubul, I think Zubul definitely had some blue parts, and the spots are kind of orange, but they're reddish. Gangle is red, and then the tears are blue. Oh, am I missing someone? I feel like I'm missing someone. Maybe I'm not missing anyone. Okay, sorry, I gotta think of, I'm gonna put you freaks in your place scene. That was Pomni, Rags, Gangle, Aggie, Jax. Okay, I hit everybody, and then Kinger. So, like, I hit everybody. Queenie, I don't think she did. Kaufmo, I don't remember. Ribbit definitely doesn't seem to, but I don't know, maybe that's the exception that proves the rule. I don't know. It was just kind of something I noticed, and I don't know if that means anything, if there's some symbolism in that, or if it's just neat and the color palettes all just like kind of match in their own ways. But it was something I noticed. Like I said, I guess just kind of recapping the lore and what we learned and what we maybe learned. Kane is an AI, 1000%. He created the circus. Like, there was the server, which Kane was in, and he created the circus in it, and he consumed another AI to do it. Kinger did work. CNA is real. Kinger worked for them. Scratch worked with Kinger to make Kane and was really the brains behind the thing. Bubble is something separate from Kane and survived Kane's deletion. Ragatha entered the game world alone, but was not alone in real life when she went in. These do seem to be brain scans of people, which would really make sense with the thing with Ragatha. It's like, okay, this thing was put on her head, and either just 100%, like boom to boom, or just it made a copy of her. There are not a lot of people that have come here. So, for whatever reason, it's very exclusive. And with the way Ragatha was talking, like, guys, it sounded like she was talking to people she knew. So it's not like, okay, she got captured and got thrown in here. It sounds like she was with people she knew when this happened. So it may have been voluntary, or like it's something that her mom made happen to her. Her mom possibly cut her eye out. I think that's about it. And like I was saying earlier, there is another AI still in the game. It goes by S, unless those are two separate entities. So I think Bubble is that AI, and I think that AI is Scratch, or another manifestation of Scratch if he was also a player. So that's a lot. Like, a lot of lore stuff. And unlike the last episode, I'm like, okay, like, a lot of this is legit. It feels like it is still building to more stuff. This is cool. This is interesting. The human moments in this episode hit really, really good. And that, to me, is what really kind of makes or breaks episodes of this show. It's why episode 7 didn't work for me. Because in addition to some of the other problems I had, like, aside from that scene with Jax, the human moments didn't feel right. In this one, they were fantastic, and one of them finally made me cry. This is my favorite episode of the show. I was not expecting the finale to come out so soon. June 19th, that's 3 months. And as soon as I saw the date, I was like, if I had a nickel for every time an internet show chose to end on Father's Day, June 19th, I'd have at least 2. There might be another, because I like, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Like, I don't know if there's others, but I almost feel like this is not the second time I've seen June 19th. But that's really soon. And I am so excited to watch this finale. We'll see what ends up happening on that day, because like I might end up working that day, but I'm hoping I'm off and I can just spend like the couple hours beforehand just let me binge the entire series and like finish, if I can time it perfectly, like let's finish the binge like right as episode 9 is starting. That would be sick as hell. But I think that's it for this episode. Y'all take care.